What is a derivative? Okay, see that green line touching slightly the function? That is a tangent line. And so, a derivative is the slope of that tangent line at any given point of a function. In other words, it is a part of the function when the tangent line touches. So now that we know what a derivative is, we're going to the next step, which is knowing the rules. First, you're going to have your base derivative, which is the power rule. This rule, you're going to apply it with any kind of rule you use. It is the basic way that you derivate. So, you take your f of x and your number, in which in this case is going to be 3x third. And what you do is you take your exponent and you take your number and you multiply them. So in this case, we're going to have 9. And then the exponent of the x, you're going to subtract 1, as you can see with the red marker. And now that you take your function and you do what mentioned, you're going to have f of x and a little apostrophe next to the f of x, which tells you that it is a derivative. So 3 times 3, 9. 3 minus 1, 2. So the derivative of 3x third is going to be 9x squared, as you can see. But then, if they ask you for your second derivative, what you're going to do is exactly the same process you did to derivate the first time. And this doesn't apply only for the power rule, but for every rule we're going to see next. So 9 times 2 is 18, and 2 minus 1 is 1, which you don't put exactly. I'm going to put it right here so you can see it, but you normally don't use it. You're going to leave it as 18x. And then if you wanted to do the third derivative, you're going to the same process. 1 times 18 is 18, and x1 minus 1, you're going to eliminate the x. Okay, and now so here I'm going to show you the base formula you're going to use when following the power rule. And this what I'm going to show you is what you're going to do inside other derivatives. When they give you some kind of formula and you need to derive something, you're using that. And so that was the power rule. And now that we know the power rule, we're going to the next rule, which is product rule. In this rule, you're going to have a multiplication with normally only 2 factors, but I'm going to show you how to do it next. As I already told you, the power rule is what you're going to do for your basis derivative. So when you apply another rule like this one, what you're going to do is you take your f of x and you put the apostrophe as shown, and then you derivate the first number, which is the blue one. And so when you're going to derivate it, you're going to apply to it the power rule. And so you have 1 and 2. So the number 1 derivative with the power rule times the second one normal, which is the one you have in your original function. And then you add it or put a sum sign, and you put the first one just like in your original function, and you multiply that for the derivative of the second one, in which, as I already told you, you're going to apply the power rule. And so I'm going to show you how this one ends up. And as I already mentioned, the apostrophe means that you're derivating or is the derivative of some function, so that you don't forget to put it, because it is really important that you put it. Now that we understand the rule and we understand how it's made, let's start. So we apply power rule in the first one and we multiply it for the second one. And then we put the sum sign, or we mark that we're going to add it up to the following, which is you paste the original first one, you have it in blue, which is x to the third, and then you multiply it for the derivative of the second one, from a number that is 6x fourth, which is going to be 24x third, because you remember we are going to multiply the exponent with your number and then we're going to subtract another number from the exponent. And what's next is that when you already derivated and put it with the normal number, you're going to multiply each side, 9x squared times 6x fourth plus 3x squared times 24x third, and then you have your derivative with product rule. Now let's go to chain rule. This is a little bit of a confusing rule because you have a function inside another function. So in this case we have x third times 2x, and all that is to the 7th power. So you have to see this as an onion or as a matryoshka doll. You take what's outside and start opening and opening and opening until you get to the center. So here our 7 is our outside number. So we apply here power rule, okay? We take what's the exponent, which is 7, and you multiply it times your number. And this time your number is going to be 1, because all that is outside the function. The x third plus 2x, it's inside. So you multiply it and subtract 1, as you can see, and you copy paste what's inside. So you're going to have 7 times x third plus 2x, and all that to the 6th power. But then you're taking that it's inside and you're going to multiply it times the function, but already derivated. So here you're going to take the x3 plus 2x and you're going to derivate it. So 3 times 1, 3x. 3 minus 1, 2. So you have your 3x squared plus 2, because you eliminate the x when you have no exponents. But as 2 and 7 are common factors, then we're going to multiply it. So our final derivative is 14 times x third plus 2x to the 6th power multiplied by 3x squared. Last but not least, we're going to see the final rule, which is the quotient rule, which is a division, as you can see here. And so we're gonna mark them the same way as we did with the chain rule and we did with the product rule. We're gonna tell which one's the first one and the number 2. And so we're going to see the same process we did with the product rule. We derivate the first one and we multiply it by the second one, and you're going to see next. So yeah, you derive the first one and multiply for the second one, but this in difference with the product rule, you're not gonna add it up, you're gonna subtract it. So you put the minus sign and then as normal you put the first one and then multiplying it times the derivative of the second one. So as you can see, it is pretty much the same than the product rule, but with a subtraction. But the thing is here, you're gonna divide it again for the second one squared. So in this case it's going to be 6x squared, but that number is going to be inside a square. So here we can see how the formula works, and now we're gonna show you how the numbers work. So pay attention.